Good morning, students. Good morning, everyone. Today, we are going to see post-marketing surveillance is almost, it's nothing but your phase 4 of clinical trials, right? So, we've already seen what is phase 4 of clinical trials, like it will general discussion like in phase 4 post-market surveillance, what will happen? The drug will be into the market, okay, and the companies and the government will take care of the drug means in a light of taking better patient care and better patient safety. Once the drug is in the market, what happens? We don't have any control over the drug, how they are using and all, right? So the company and the government want to see, and they want to perform certain surveillance and certain programs and methods to see how effectively the drug is working in conditions. And see, whenever you are in phase 1 to 3, you're giving drug to only limited number of people with a favorable conditions. But when the drug is in the market, what happens? We don't be having any favorable conditions for the drug, right? It means the drug will be used for the disease condition whichever you required, whichever your drug was, without any limitations or without any considerations of comorbid conditions, specifically speaking. Like at this point of time, we'll be knowing only few comorbid conditions or a few contraindications to which the drug should not be or cannot be given. But all the drugs, all the contraindications and all the warnings we don't know at this time, right? So the major mode of this post-marketing surveillance is to see how the drug is performing in the market, to create a new market for the drug, and to provide a better safety for the people who are using the drug. Okay, so today's class we are going to see details about this introduction and what was the reason for this post-marketing surveillance, their sources, vision, mission, what are the opportunities and practical aspects of post-marketing surveillance, what are the procedures of post-marketing surveillance, and what is manufacturers post-marketing surveillance, and all these things in a row we are going to see it in today's class, right? Okay, so this was just to recollect the previous things. Like phase 1 we'll do in humans and the objective was safety of the drug. Phase 2 we'll see in patients, the objective was to see the therapeutic efficacy and dosage. And phase 3 is therapeutic confirmatory phase. Okay, and next one is phase 4, which was being done to evaluate uh, the real clinical setting. The real clinical setting in the sense in the people in the market. Introduction to post-marketing surveillance. Okay, so to market a new drug in the market or to sell the new drug in the market, the manufacturers has to apply certain applications to the CDSCO and DCA in India and US FDA or and FDA in America, right? So when they submit the application, they should be having certain data which says the drug is safe and effective. Okay, and in pre-marketing testing is like whatever we have seen in preclinical phases, preclinical trials and clinical trials, those make a sense for to certain level to get approval and to use the drug. But at a higher chance or at a higher level, we don't be having enough conditions to say the drug don't have any extra side effects apart from whatever we have in clinical trials. Okay, and although your post-marketing surveillance cannot provide knowledge about safety or efficacy of the drug, okay, at the time of introduction into the market, it has been provided. It can be provided the safety and efficacy of the drug only after. See, it can be at any point of time. Like take example, if I ranitidine after years, after decades of use, now we came to know there is certain serious side effects to the ranitidine also. So there is no specific time period for post-marketing surveillance as we seen in previous class. The drug will be there in the market till the drug has get banned. Till that time, that is phase 4. Okay. And other important thing here is where post-marketing surveillance will play a major role in discovering the undesirable effect. Okay. So undesirable effect means Like in phase 4, there will be so many contraindications and so many comorbidities will be there. The patient will be taking the drug even though. Okay. So at that time, what happens? There will be certain undesirable effects. See, ADRs or side effects are undesirable effects, obviously. Okay. And whatever we got in the clinical trials, those are a minute set of clinical trials. We don't be having minute set of ADRs or side effects or unwanted effects. We don't be having the entire data. Okay. Yeah. So what are some of the basic features of this one is you don't have any fixed duration or fixed patient population for post-marketing surveillance, right? So fixed duration won't be there, like I said, until the drug in the market, there is a duration for the drug in the market for your post-market surveillance. And no fixed patient population. Why I'm saying no fixed patient population means, like supposing we know a drug of the class whichever you have been produced. So this drug is having certain effect on CVS system that you know. So you'll be writing contraindications, but you don't know the drug is showing certain problem to the kidneys also. That we don't know because we are not gone through. We didn't get any much data of it in clinical trials, so we just we don't know about it. But when the drug is in the market and used by a person who is having a kidney problem, obviously it show effects. Like that's what I said. There is no fixed patient population. Okay, it starts immediately after marketing, obviously after phase 4, sorry, after phase 3. Report all ADRs, whichever was there in at the time of post-market surveillance. Next, helps to detect rare ADRs, rare adverse reactions, and helps to detect drug interactions. And also a new use of drug. If there is any new use of drugs, that can be found out in post-marketing surveillance. And sometimes they call this one as a phase 5 also. Not much, but some people will say. And the major reasons for post-market surveillance, as you know in history, is thalidomide. Apart from that, there is certain neuropathic issues was there in Japan with certain elixirs. So these are the one of two of the major incidents which leads to starting of your post marketing surveillance, right? Okay. At that time, the Senator Edward Kennedy has suggested for the better improvement for marketing, means to see the safety of the marketing of a drug. So he just come up with an idea. He just told to the companies and the government to monitor it, where a result of which there was a committee for Joint Commission Prescription Drug Use was established in 1976, which was largely funded by the industries, okay, with the mandate to design post-marketing surveillance. They at that time they thought we need to have a good post-marketing surveillance methods to see to safeguard the patients. Okay. Sources of PMS, like from where we'll get the data for this post-marketing surveillance, because once the drug is in the market, the people will be using it, but how to collect the data from the people? Okay. So following may be considered as certain sources from your proactive and some of the reactive things, like from expert user groups you have get, and from customer surveys, like once the drug has been given by the doctor to the patient, the doctor has to get back to the patient and ask, or the pharmacist. Customer complaints and warranty claims. Okay, this customer complaints or warranty claims will be there for any kind of devices or any kind of prosthetics or any those kind of things. Next, post CE market clinical trials. Next, any literature has been written about the drug. Next, device tracking and implant registers. Next one, user reaction during training programs and the media. Right, these are all some of the sources of post-marketing surveillance where you can get. Are there any benefits of your post-marketing surveillance? Yes, there are certain benefits of post-marketing surveillance. It helps to detect the manufacturing problems. If they found any manufacturing problem defects, that one can be found out with the help of your post-marketing surveillance. Next, use for the improvement of medical devices quality. Okay. Next, verification of risk analysis. Next, intelligence of long-term performance of any of the device or any of the drug. Next, any chronic compliance on long-term use with certain comorbid conditions. Next, the performance test tends like your opponent drug from the market, how it's performing, the performance tends. Performance in different user populations like pediatrics, geriatrics, adults, pregnant women, and disabled, mentally disabled or labeled patients, vulnerable populations. Or mechanism of the device may be misused, means how the device can be misused. Just like take an example of your what we call as take example of your drug like a morphine, a coding, how they are going to get misused. That one. Next, feedback on indicators for use and instructions for use. Like whenever you use certain indications for indications for how to use a device, sometimes the patients people will not understand it. So any feedbacks on it. Next, training requirements for users use with other devices. Customer satisfaction things, market performance and suitability, sustainability. This was an example where the intraocular lens has been broken for so many users once the lens was newly introduced in the market. Then they assessed the complaints and they have done a statistically significant methods to find out what was the problem, why it has been happening by the companies. Why do we need post-marketing surveillance? Vision for post-marketing surveillance. Okay, so the major thing of this post-marketing surveillance is speaking in terms of vaccination. All patient vaccinations and health outcomes are immediately and continuously accessible in automated database, allowing optimal detection and analysis of the potential problems in vaccine safeties. So this was about the reactions whichever we are going to get from vaccination or anytime whenever you go for a new drug. Next, post-marketing surveillance opportunities. Next, practical aspects of PMS. So your PMS should be proactive. Okay, manufacturer should document the complaints about the drug, how the drug is performing in the market. Next, manufacturer's PMS procedures should discuss the information that will be collected and obtained as part of system. So the manufacturer has to discuss the procedure, how they are going to conduct your post-marketing surveillance along with the government agencies. Yeah, about PMS procedures. So here the methods what we are going to use for post-marketing surveillance are controlled clinical trial methods, spontaneous and voluntary reporting methods, cohort study methods, and case control studies. Okay, the first one of the appropriate thing was controlled clinical trials. Okay, so this one was used to minimize the bias. Okay, through such method as a randomization, double blinding. Okay, and yeah, you are going to directly monitor the patients for duration of the studies. Like when you give a new drug for a course of 12 days or 1 week or 1 month, you are going to find it. And where you don't specifically give this drug only this class of people, means only pediatrics or only geriatrics, like that. You'll be given to the patients and you'll monitor the patient. Okay, for evaluating the drug efficacy and safety, you need this, and they are costly often when you go for certain randomizations, blinding, and methods. If you want to implement in phase 4, also it's a bit a costly thing. The next one is spontaneous or volunteer reporting. Here, what happens? The information will be can be reported by the patient directly to the government or to the company, or the patients can directly report to the physicians, where physician can report it to the companies and all. Okay. As you know, cohort studies, you are going to give this drug only to a set of people and find out what is the effects of it. Okay. Next, case control studies identify patients with adverse reactions. So here you are going to set a control studies where you are going to give, you are going to identify the patients with certain similar kind of adverse effects. You will study them. You will compare them with sample drawn from the same cohort populations wherever you are going to get. You will compare these two groups and you can just get it. Okay. Next, manufacturers PMS systems. Okay. There are some of the types of knowledge and feedback which may be achieved from PMS systems. So what are the knowledge which you will achieve from PMS system generally is detection of some manufacturing problems. Okay. And the summary part. So it is a practice which is done by, which should be done by the companies and the government for the safety of the people. Okay. Next, device after it has been released onto the market, and it's important part of science of pharmacovigilance. Yeah, that was one of the biggest thing.